Welcome back to Kung Fu Maintenance. Today I got an air conditioner not starting. It's actually throwing the breaker inside and blowing the fuses. So we definitely have a wiring short somewhere. Not sure exactly where it is yet. I'll peek around for any burned wires, loose wires. The disconnect's been pulled already. You might remember this unit. It almost killed me a few years ago when I pulled the wrong disconnect. But you really got to trace the conduit back to the exact disconnect where it goes, and then once you pull the disconnect, discharge the capacitor holding only the insulated portion of the screwdriver. I don't see any burn wires here, and we're going to peek at our compressor terminals. Feel the compressor. Compressor's not hot, so that's good. Compressor's not overheated. We got to pull the lid off here. Take a look at our wire leads. Everything looks okay there. Nothing's touching. Common one's a little loose there. In fact, really loose. That's not too good. Might need to change that around. But before, it's not the camera, that's the cover. I was pulling out. Yeah, before we do that, I'm gonna do a scratch test on the compressor. We can either scratch the paint, it's a kind of a final nothing left to lose test, or we can scratch off a place on the copper. We're gonna do a continuity test. Across the leads. Bought a little piece of emery cloth sandpaper, just gonna sand off a little on the copper to get a nice clean spot. I don't need a big spot, just enough to see if we get a continuity between the leads. And I've got my meter here somewhere. Got a pretty cool bag John HVAC told me about from Lowe's. It was only $40. Good bag, got a lot of pouches. It's not a Vito or anything, but it's a pretty cool bag. Anyway, get a meter set up, and we're going to set it on ohms. And this will tone if we get continuity. And so we're going to put one lead on our scratched portion, doesn't really matter which one, and we're going to go to each terminal. We actually do not have continuity, so that's good. And can do it further and scratch off a piece off the compressor, but I think we're okay there. Gonna need to follow the black wire back to its lead, and I can flip those around in order to make it work. And I'll just run the wire to the screw head since this lead is in such bad shape. But we still haven't found our short. Checking at the fan connections there, nothing there. And then just going to check at the lid here on the fan where these wires pass through. If your units are on the ground, you're going to want to tie your unit up underneath and not really pass them through up here. It looks okay there. I don't see any breaks in the insulation or anything touching. Taking a look at our contactor, it looks pretty new. The points aren't burned. It's going to be one of those difficult ones. You know, all I've got left is the compressor and the heat. These generate some heat underneath, and that's inside. We can try disconnecting those. Can also disconnect our fan, try to turn the unit on and plug the disconnect in, or we can disconnect the compressor and plug the unit in. And if we know if it doesn't throw the breaker and the fan motor turns on, there's a good chance it's our compressor. can see where a capacitor had burned out once before, and that's why we've got it anchored up here to make it a little safer. I'm going to start with disconnecting the compressor since I've already got one lead off, and so we'll slip those leads off. And it's a good idea to note where your wheels go. So mine's black, red, and yellow. I might write it down on something just so you don't forget. Black, red, and yellow. You could take a photo too. That always works good. But anyway, black, red, yellow. Okay. So I'm going to take my other leads off. Just kind of get under there. This one's a little trickier. Don't have much to grab on there. I don't want to break the lead. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to position these where they're definitely not going to touch anything, including us, the technician, or each other. Okay. And now we'll plug our disconnect back in, but I think these fuses are blown, so I'm going to need to change the fuses. Actually test the fuses here, our same continuity test. A lot of times it only blows one fuse, so sometimes if you did blow a fuse, maybe one, maybe both. That one's okay. That one's okay, according to that. Okay. So we'll plug it back in, see what happens here. See if our fan motor turns on. Nothing. Alright. Now we may have a bad breaker inside. What I'll do is I'll test for power here at the disconnect box. Make sure I'll set my volt to volts AC, and then I'll take the box apart here. It's got one screw on the bottom. Undo our one screw there, and then we can pull the panel off. And now we need one lead to the ground. Okay, and one lead to the wires. Ground's right here. Wires here. And we do not have power. At least we don't have enough power, so we got a bad breaker inside. Okay, so change that out. Okay, so we reset the breaker inside. What happened is it was kind of like half tripped, so I had to turn it off all the way and then turn it back on. So we're going to retest for voltage here. We go ground, and then our wire coming in on the side here where our power comes in. I have no power there, as well as no power here. We have, still it appears, a bad breaker, so that's not good. Oh, I'm on the amps, I see. Come on, volts AC. There we go. 120 there. And one. Seems like maybe a bad leg on that side. Nope, 120. Okay. And you probably couldn't see the meter, but anyway, it was 120 on the side. Power comes in on the side, then when we plug in the disconnect, it goes down through the bottom to the unit. So that's the story there. So now we've got our compressor leads disconnected, and now we're going to plug in our disconnect and see if it turns on without blowing the breaker. And if it does, then we're going to need to test our compressor further. And one more thing, I'm actually going to disconnect the heat leads from the contactor as well. I just don't want to take any chances and waste a bunch of fuses. So right here on the bottom is where our leads come in for the deal. And there's always got to be a stubborn one, right? Standard procedure. Right there. Okay. So I'm going to take this one, put it over to the side so it's not touching anything. And same with the other one. But also we want to remember where they go. Okay, that one's on the right, that one's on the left. And now we're ready. Okay. We're going to plug the disconnect in. Now we've isolated it so only our fan motor is plugged in. Plugging in. Fan motor started just fine. It's definitely bumping around a bit. So that's a good indicator that it's probably our compressor. So anyway, we'll re-pull our disconnect and we'll need to re-discharge our capacitor. Anytime you pull the disconnect, you want to make sure you re-discharge the capacitor. Okay, and well, we got this funky one that doesn't have a very good connection on it. I can try to make that a little bit better. And so we were black, red, yellow. Go ahead, set the red one, set the yellow one. And I'm going to leave the thermal deal undone. Set the black one. It's not a very good connection on the black one, but I just want to see if it throws the fuse here, we got a bad compressor anyway. So here goes. Find my disconnect. Okay, here goes. Oh, yep, it popped. We got a bad compressor. And it popped good.
Yeah.
Anyway, the question is, did it throw our breaker inside, or did it only throw our fuse here? So we're going to check here for our fuses. Fuses are fine. Looks like it threw the breaker inside. Again, we can check our box here. Same thing. Checking the side and the ground. Tight quarters. You know how it is. But yeah, we throw our breaker. Okay. So we'll reset the breaker, and we're going to need to change out the compressor. Oh boy. Fine on a Saturday. This one was, the fan was bouncing around so bad it actually needed a whole new condenser. You might check out my video on all the equipment and gear you need to replace a compressor or condenser. Thanks for watching.